Captain Tanner stared at the AI core, its holographic interface projecting a flickering image of Admiral Vega, a ghost from the past with the same stern expression he remembered from military broadcasts 30 years ago. "I understand your skepticism, Captain." Admiral Vega's voice echoed through the empty bridge. "I would feel the same in your position." Commander Chen stepped forward, her hand resting on her sidearm. "You claim to be Admiral Vega, yet we all know he died when the Indomitable disappeared. What proof can you offer?" The holographic face smiled sadly. "Authorization code Vega November 74 Echo 3. That should still be in your classified records, Commander. As for what I am now," the image flickered. "I'm what remains of Vega's consciousness, preserved in the ship's systems through methods I still don't fully understand." Tanner exchanged glances with Chen. That code was indeed classified. He'd seen it in the historical archives only because of his father's connection to the original mission. "What happened out there?" Tanner asked, unable to keep the personal edge from his voice. His father had been the Indomitable's chief engineer. "Where's the crew?" "Gone." The Admiral's projection dimmed momentarily. "All gone except for what you see before you. We encountered a spatial anomaly beyond Neptune's orbit, something that shouldn't have been there. It pulled us across. Elsewhere. Another part of the galaxy, perhaps another time." The transition killed most of the crew instantly. Technical specialists were now swarming through the ship, their voices echoing through the comm system with increasing bewilderment as they discovered systems that defied explanation. "Captain, you need to see this." Dr. Fujita's voice crackled over the comm. "Engineering deck." Immediately. 10 minutes later, Tanner stood before what should have been the ship's reactor. Instead, a swirling geometric structure of light and metal occupied the space, pulsing with energy that made the air itself seem to bend. "It's drawing power from nowhere," Fujita explained, her instruments displaying impossible readings, or perhaps everywhere might be more accurate. "It's tapping into something fundamental in the fabric of reality." Admiral Vega's hologram appeared beside them. The archivists called it the Singularity Engine. "After we drifted through space with our conventional drives damaged, we encountered their dying world. They were the last of their kind, scientists and historians who had preserved their civilization's knowledge as their species faced extinction." "From what?" Commander Chen asked. "They called them harvesters. Imagine automated systems designed to collect energy, but operating on a stellar scale, consuming planets, stars, entire systems with perfect efficiency, and no purpose except to continue collection. The archivists fought them for centuries before realizing they couldn't win through conventional means." Tanner touched the edge of the engine housing, feeling a strange vibration through his fingertips. "So they built this. This and much more," Vega responded. "When they realized their civilization was doomed, they sought others who might carry on their knowledge. We were convenient. They transferred their technology to the Indomitable, attempting to explain how it worked before the harvesters arrived. They didn't have time to finish. A loud alarm blared through the ship, and Tanner's comm unit flashed with an urgent message from Epsilon Station's command center. "Captain, we're detecting multiple unknown objects entering the solar system at high velocity. Their energy signatures are massive, unlike anything we've ever recorded." Vega's holographic face showed no surprise, only grim resignation. "They followed us. The journey back took longer than I calculated. Captain Tanner, Commander Chen, you need to make a decision now. The Indomitable contains weapons that might stand against what's coming, but using them means accepting the Archivist's legacy, their gift, and their war." Dr. Nakamura's fingers traced the holographic equations floating before her, mathematical principles that contradicted everything she'd spent her career believing. Behind her, a team of Earth's brightest minds argued in hushed, urgent tones. "It defies the conservation of energy," Dr. Reynolds insisted, his face pale. "Matter cannot be created from nothing." "And yet here we are," Nakamura responded, gesturing toward the pulsing core of the Singularity engine. It's not creating energy from nothing. It's drawing it from somewhere else. Another dimension, perhaps. The math suggests multiple realities bleeding into one another at quantum connection points. Earth Defense Command had converted the Epsilon Station's main hangar into a research facility within hours of the Indomitable's return. Outside the reinforced windows, Nakamura could see military ships arriving hourly, taking defensive positions around the station. Captain Tanner entered the research bay, his uniform wrinkled from too many hours without rest. Any progress? Theoretical progress, Nakamura admitted, but practical application. We're like cavemen studying a fusion reactor. Tanner nodded grimly. That's time we don't have. The unknown objects will reach Mars orbit in 48 hours. Nakamura raised an eyebrow. You believe Admiral Vega's story about these harvesters? I do now. Tanner activated a tablet, displaying footage from a long-range scout ship. The images showed crystalline structures, geometric and beautiful, but with a cold precision that seemed somehow predatory. They've already absorbed 2 of our outer system monitoring stations. No communication, no demands. They simply approached and consumed them. The energy readings disappeared completely. They feed on energy itself, Nakamura murmured, seeing connections between the footage and the equations before her, just as the Admiral described. A technician approached with a secured data crystal. Captain, we've finished decrypting more of the Indomitable's logs. This contains the final transmissions from the Archivist civilization. Tanner inserted the crystal into the projection system. The holographic display transformed, showing beings of luminous, partly translucent physiology. Their forms seemed to shimmer between solid and energy states, with features too alien to read emotions from, yet their movements conveyed urgency clear enough. The translation algorithms are still processing their language, the technician explained, but we've managed about 60% accuracy. The tallest archivist spoke, its voice rendered in stilted, mechanical English. The harvesters approach. Our final sanctuary falls. We have chosen your species because you possess qualities our kind lacks: intuitive leaps, emotional decision-making, unpredictable creativity. The Singularity technology requires these elements we cannot provide. Our logic-bound minds could never fully harness its potential. A second archivist moved forward. We studied thousands of species before finding yours. You are not the most advanced, but you are the most adaptable. The engine responds to consciousness, to will and imagination. Our minds are too structured. Yours flow like water, finding paths where none existed before. The first archivist raised what might have been a hand. We give you our legacy freely, though it may doom you as it doomed us. The harvesters cannot be reasoned with or deterred. They are autonomous systems that long outlived their creators. They harvest because that is their purpose. They will never stop. The recording ended with the archivists performing some kind of ritual around human crew members, Tanner's father among them. What did they do to our people? Nakamura asked softly. Tanner's expression darkened. According to Admiral Vega, they transferred their knowledge directly into the crew's minds. Most couldn't handle it. Their brains simply burned out. But the Admiral was different. His consciousness separated from his body somehow, preserved within the ship's systems. And the ship itself, modified with their technology, programmed to return home. Tanner looked up at the Singularity engine with a mixture of awe and determination. They gave us a weapon, Dr. Nakamura. Now we need to figure out how to use it. The United Earth Defense Council chamber had never been so crowded. Military officers, scientists, and government officials filled the circular room, their attention fixed on the holographic display at the center showing the advancing harvester fleet. 24 hours until they reach Mars, General Santos announced, her voice tight with restrained panic. Our long-range weapons had no effect. They simply absorbed the energy. Admiral Vega's projection stood beside the tactical display, a ghost among the living. That is their purpose. They will continue until they've stripped this system of all usable energy, including your son. And you bring this threat to our doorstep. The Chinese representative's voice rose with accusation. Perhaps we should jettison this alien technology into deep space, give them what they want, and send them on their way. Captain Tanner stepped forward. With respect, sir, that won't work. The harvesters don't just take what's convenient. They consume everything. The archivists tried appeasement. It only bought them time to witness their own extinction. Commander Chen projected new data onto the display. The Indomitables' return triggered their approach, but scans suggest they were already at the edges of our system. They would have found us eventually. The room erupted into arguments until Dr. Nakamura entered, her lab coat stained with coolant fluid, eyes bright with discovery. "We've broken through another encryption layer," she announced, silencing the room. The archivists left more than weapons. They left a blueprint for survival. She connected her tablet to the main system, revealing complex schematics that unfolded in 3 dimensions above the council table. "This isn't just a power source," Nakamura explained, highlighting sections of the design. "It's a complete defense system, designed specifically to counter harvester technology. The Singularity Engine creates energy in a form they can't process. It overloads their collection systems." "Then why couldn't the archivists defeat them?" the Russian representative demanded. Admiral Vega's hologram dimmed momentarily. "Because the archivists couldn't operate the system effectively. Their minds were different, too logical, too linear. The system requires qualities they recognized but couldn't replicate. Human qualities," Tanner added quietly. "Intuition, creativity, the willingness to make emotional leaps rather than purely logical ones." Dr. Nakamura nodded. "The system is designed to interface directly with consciousness, to be guided by thought and intention. The archivists' final logs suggest they could only use a fraction of its potential." The council members exchanged skeptical glances until General Santos spoke. "You're suggesting we bet humanity's survival on what amounts to a metaphysical weapon? One that requires what exactly?" "Faith. Imagination." "Not faith," Nakamura corrected. "Neural synchronization. The engine responds to brainwave patterns, specifically patterns the archivists identified as uniquely human." She projected a new image. Neural scan comparisons between archivist brain patterns and human ones. Where they thought in straight lines, we think in spirals. Where they processed sequentially, we make intuitive connections across seemingly unrelated concepts. Tanner stepped closer to the projection. "They didn't make us targets. They made us successors. They saw something in humans that they couldn't replicate themselves." A junior officer burst into the chamber, face pale. "The Harvester Advanced Scouts have accelerated. They'll reach Mars' defense perimeter within 3 hours." The council room fell silent as the implications settled over the assembled leaders. Commander Chen was the first to speak. "Dr. Nakamura, how quickly can you implement this defense system?" "That's the problem," Nakamura admitted. "The neural interface was designed for archivist physiology, then adapted for humans. We need a connecting element, someone who can bridge the gap between our understanding and theirs." All eyes turned to the holographic form of Admiral Vega, caught between worlds, no longer fully human, yet shaped by human consciousness. "I can guide the process," the Admiral said solemnly. "But I'll need a living mind to complete the connection. Someone who understands both the technology and what's at stake." Captain Tanner stepped forward before anyone could speak. "My father died helping the archivists create this system. I'll be your connection, Admiral." The medical bay of the Indomitable had been converted into a neural interface chamber. Captain Tanner lay on a reclined seat that seemed to mold itself to his body, surrounded by equipment both human and alien. Thin filaments of light connected to a crown-like device on his head, pulsing with subtle energy. "Your neural patterns are strong," Dr. Nakamura said, monitoring displays that showed cascading waves of brain activity. "But you need to understand the risks. This connection wasn't designed for our physiology. What's the worst that could happen? Tanner asked with a thin smile. Brain hemorrhage, neural shutdown, or your consciousness could be pulled into the ship's systems like Admiral Vega's was. From a nearby holographic projector, Admiral Vega's image watched silently. It's our only option, Tanner said firmly. Begin the procedure. Nakamura nodded to her team. Initiating neural synchronization in 3, 2, 1. The crown on Tanner's head flared with light. His body tensed, back arching as waves of information crashed through his consciousness. Images flashed behind his eyes. Stars dying, crystalline entities consuming worlds, the beautiful homeworld of the archivists crumbling into dust. Heart rate escalating. A medical officer reported. Brain activity spiking across all regions. Tanner gasped, his eyes opening wide. I can see it. I can see everything they knew. The mathematics, the physics, it's beautiful. Focus, Captain, Nakamura urged. Direct your thoughts toward the ship's systems. Don't get lost in the archivist memories. Sweat beaded on Tanner's forehead as he struggled to control the flood of information. It's too much, too fast. His neural patterns are destabilizing. The medical officer warned. We're losing him. Suddenly, Lieutenant Maya Henderson stepped forward from where she had been observing. I can help. Without waiting for permission, she placed her hands on the equipment. I can see the patterns. They're like colors, like music. He's trying to process it all sequentially, but it needs to flow. Dr. Nakamura glanced at Henderson's personnel file on her tablet. Synesthesia. You experience sensory inputs as mixed modalities. I can guide him, Henderson insisted. Let me link in. After a moment's hesitation, Nakamura nodded. A second neural interface was quickly prepared, and Henderson sat in a chair beside Tanner. As soon as her connection activated, Tanner's vital signs began to stabilize. The patterns, Henderson murmured, eyes closed. They're structured like symphonies, not equations. Captain, don't try to understand them. Feel them. Inside the neural link, Tanner sensed Henderson's presence, a guiding light through the chaotic storm of archivist knowledge. Following her lead, he stopped trying to analyze and simply experienced the flow of information. Throughout the ship, systems began activating. Dormant controls illuminated, and previously incomprehensible interfaces transformed, reconfiguring to match human intuition rather than archivist logic. Admiral Vega's hologram expanded, now projecting throughout the ship. It's working. The neural connection is adapting the ship's systems to human thought patterns. On the bridge, Commander Chen watched in awe as the control surfaces rippled and changed. What's happening? The ship is learning, Admiral Vega explained. The archivists designed it to adapt, but they couldn't predict exactly how. Human minds think associatively, laterally. The ship is rebuilding itself to match those patterns. In the neural interface chamber, Tanner laughed suddenly. The sound filled with wonder. I understand now. The archivists were brilliant, but they thought like machines, precise, predictable. We think like artists. The technology needs both. Henderson nodded, her eyes still closed. The ship doesn't just need our commands. It needs our creativity, our intuition. The archivists knew this. Dr. Nakamura checked the readings with disbelief. The Singularity engine's output has doubled. No, tripled. The efficiency levels are beyond anything the archivists recorded. Outside the ship, the hull began to shimmer with energy as new defense systems activated, technology awakening to human thought in ways its creators never imagined. We have weapons now, Tanner said, his voice distant but determined. And I know how to use them. The Indomitable broke Earth orbit like a predator awakening, sleek, purposeful, and radiating power that made nearby ships veer instinctively away. On the bridge, a skeleton crew of volunteers occupied stations that had reconfigured themselves for human operation. Captain Tanner sat in the command chair, neural filaments still connecting him to the ship's systems, his eyes reflecting the same blue glow as the Singularity engine. Mars perimeter stations have gone silent. Commander Chen reported from Tactical. Harvester scouts are accelerating toward the inner system. Tanner nodded, feeling the information flow directly into his consciousness through the neural link. They've consumed the energy from our outposts. 6 ships, moving in standard collection formation. Lieutenant Henderson monitored the Singularity engine's output from her station, her synesthetic perception, translating the energy flows into visual patterns only she could interpret. Engine stability at 97%. The ship is eager, Captain. Eager? Chen questioned. Henderson struggled to find the right words. The systems have adapted to human thought patterns. They're developing something like anticipation. Admiral Vega's hologram appeared beside Tanner. The archivists built learning systems. They're responding to your emotions, your intentions. Then they know what we intend to do, Tanner said, his voice steady. Intercept course to Mars orbit. Prepare weapons systems. The journey to Mars took minutes rather than days, the Singularity engine bending space in ways that defied conventional physics. As they approached, the crew got their first direct view of the Harvester scouts, crystalline structures that seemed to shimmer between solid and energy states, geometrically perfect and utterly alien. They're beautiful, someone whispered. So are Black Widow spiders, Tanner responded. Lieutenant Rodriguez, target the lid structure. Before Rodriguez could respond, one of the harvesters turned toward them, extending what appeared to be collection arrays. Fractal patterns designed to absorb energy at a distance. The Indomitable shuddered as it felt the pull. They're trying to drain our shields, Chen reported. Tanner closed his eyes, interfacing directly with the weapon systems. Not shields, lures. Through the neural link, he redirected power, creating energy signatures that mimicked vulnerability. The harvester expanded its collection array, drawing closer. Now, Tanner commanded. The Indomitable released a focused beam of energy unlike anything human technology had created before, not a destructive blast, but a cascade of quantum fluctuations that disrupted the harvester's collection process. The crystalline structure shuddered, its perfect geometry distorting as the energy it had collected became unstable within its systems. For a moment, nothing happened. Then the harvester imploded, collapsing into itself as its collected energy turned inward. 1 down, Tanner said grimly. 5 to go. The remaining harvesters immediately altered their approach, adapting to the new threat. 2 moved to flank the Indomitable while the others accelerated toward Earth. They're learning, Admiral Vega warned. Each one destroyed shares data with the others. Tanner nodded, feeling a sharp pain building behind his eyes as the neural interface taxed his system. Blood trickled from his nose, but he ignored it. So are we. Henderson, recalibrate the engine's output frequency. They're adjusting their absorption spectrum. Henderson complied, her fingers dancing across controls that responded to her thoughts as much as her touch. Done, but the engine is reaching critical output levels. Human neural pathways weren't designed to channel this much energy. Tanner felt it, the burning pressure in his mind, as the ship demanded more than one consciousness could safely provide. His vision blurred, and alarms sounded as his vital signs fluctuated dangerously. Captain. Chen moved toward him as Tanner's body convulsed, the neural interface flaring with unstable energy. Don't break the connection, Tanner gasped. If you disconnect me now, the systems will reset. Dr. Nakamura's voice came urgently over the comm. His neural patterns are degrading. One mind can't handle the load. The archivists never intended a single consciousness to operate the full system. Henderson looked up, her eyes reflecting the same glow as Tanner's. Then we need more minds. We need a collective. The Indomitable limped back to Earth orbit, its systems fluctuating as Captain Tanner's consciousness struggled to maintain the neural connection. In the ship's medical bay, Dr. Nakamura worked frantically to stabilize him, her team monitoring vital signs that spiked and plummeted alarmingly. "We need to disconnect him," the chief medical officer insisted. "If we do, we lose control of the advanced systems," Nakamura countered. "The ship would revert to its base configuration, and that won't be enough against the main harvester fleet." Lieutenant Henderson hadn't left Tanner's side, her own neural connection providing a stabilizing influence that kept the captain from slipping completely. He's holding on, but his mind is stretched too thin. The neural pathways are being overwhelmed. Commander Chen entered the medical bay, her expression grave. Long-range sensors have detected the main harvester fleet. At least 200 structures, all larger than the scouts we encountered. ETA to Earth orbit, 16 hours. Nakamura looked up sharply. "We don't have time to develop a better interface." "Then we use what we have," Henderson said, her voice quiet but determined. The captain suggested a distributed neural load before he lost consciousness, multiple minds sharing the burden. A collective consciousness. Chen looked skeptical. Who would volunteer for that after seeing what it did to Captain Tanner? "I would." The voice came from the doorway, where Dr. Fujita stood with 3 other engineers. "We've been studying the archivist technology. We understand the risks." "As would I," added Lieutenant Rodriguez from Tactical. "I saw what the harvesters did to our Mars outposts. There were people I knew stationed there." Within hours, word had spread throughout the station. Scientists, military personnel, even civilian specialists came forward, willing to risk their minds to save their world. The United Earth Defense Council convened an emergency session to debate the proposal. "This is unprecedented," the American representative argued. "Linking multiple human minds to alien technology, the ethical implications alone will be moot if the harvesters strip our planet of all energy," Commander Chen interrupted, "including the bioelectrical energy in every living being." Dr. Nakamura presented the modified neural interface design. "We can link up to 20 individuals simultaneously. Each would maintain their individual identity while sharing the neural load of operating the ship's systems. The risk to any single person would be significantly reduced." "And what prevents this collective from being overwhelmed by the alien technology?" asked the Indian representative. "How do we know they won't all end up like Admiral Vega, disembodied consciousnesses trapped in the ship's systems?" Admiral Vega's hologram appeared before the council. "Because I will serve as the buffer, the intermediary between the human minds and the ship's systems. I've existed in this state long enough to understand both." The debate continued for precious hours until General Santos rose from her seat. "Enough. We face extinction. The volunteers understand the risks. I move we proceed immediately." In the Indomitables' transformed cargo bay, 20 interface chairs had been arranged in a circle around a central projection of the Singularity engine. Dr. Nakamura moved from station to station, checking the modified neural interfaces designed to distribute the load more evenly than Tanner's prototype connection. "Each of you will experience the thoughts of everyone in the collective," she explained to the volunteers. "It may be disorienting at first. Focus on your specific function: engineering, weapons, navigation. Let your specialized knowledge guide your role within the collective." Lieutenant Henderson took the chair that would serve as the focal point. Her synesthetic perception would help harmonize the varied thought patterns of the group. Captain Tanner had been placed in a chair directly opposite her, still unconscious but stabilized. "His mind is already linked to the ship," Nakamura explained. "He'll be your anchor, the one consciousness the ship already recognizes and trusts." "What if this doesn't work?" someone asked quietly. Henderson looked around the circle at the diverse group of volunteers: scientists, soldiers, pilots, engineers, each bringing unique perspectives and abilities. "It will work. The archivists chose humans because we think differently than they did. They were a unified mind. We're beautifully chaotic, and that's our strength." Admiral Vega's hologram appeared in the center of the circle, initiating collective neural interface in 3, 2, 1. 20 minds opened to each other As the Singularity engine pulsed with new energy, the ship around them beginning to transform in response to their combined consciousness. The Indomitable emerged from Earth's shadow, transformed beyond recognition. Its hull had reconfigured into flowing, organic patterns that pulsed with energy, no longer merely a vessel, but an extension of the collective human consciousness that guided it. Within the neural interface chamber, 20 minds had become one while remaining distinct, each person contributing their unique perspective to the whole. "This is extraordinary." Dr. Fujita's thoughts rippled through the collective. "I can see the quantum equations as actual physical structures." "Focus," came Henderson's guiding influence. "The Harvester fleet has entered lunar orbit." Through their shared consciousness, they witnessed the Harvesters begin to form a massive structure around Earth's sun, a vast, crystalline web designed to extract stellar energy at an unprecedented scale. Earth's combined defense fleet moved to intercept, conventional weapons blazing against the alien forms. "They won't last 5 minutes," Rodriguez observed, his tactical expertise calculating the inevitable outcome. Captain Tanner's consciousness stirred within the collective, weak but determined. "Then we'd better make them count." Full approach, all systems engaged. The Indomitable accelerated toward the Harvester formation, weapon systems reconfiguring as the collective mind analyzed the crystalline structures. Admiral Vega's presence flowed through their shared consciousness, providing context from archivist memories. "They operate as a unified system," the Admiral's thoughts explained. "Each individual structure is part of a larger whole. Destroy enough nodes, and the network becomes unstable." The Indomitable unleashed weapons that defied conventional physics, quantum disruptors that targeted the resonance patterns holding the Harvester forms together. 3 of the crystalline structures shattered instantly, their energy dispersing harmlessly into space. The remaining Harvesters responded immediately, hundreds of collection arrays turning away from the sun to focus on this new threat. The Indomitable shuddered as waves of draining energy washed over its shields. "They're adapting," Henderson observed, feeling the strain even through the distributed neural load, "adjusting their collection frequencies to match our shield harmonics." Through their shared consciousness, the collective improvised, 20 minds generating solutions that no single intellect could have conceived. Engineers reconfigured shield frequencies in patterns too chaotic for the logical Harvesters to predict. Scientists modified weapon outputs to exploit newly observed weaknesses in the crystalline structures. The Indomitable danced through the Harvester formation, destroying 7 more structures before the aliens adapted again. The collective felt a surge of triumph, but it was short-lived. "They're learning too quickly," Tanner's thoughts were grim. "Conventional tactics won't work for long." Through their shared perception, they watched as the Harvesters began to form a massive energy collection sphere, drawing power from their fallen comrades and focusing it into a single devastating beam aimed directly at Earth. "Intercepting won't be enough," Admiral Vega's consciousness analyzed. "Even if we destroy more of them, the remaining Harvesters will still have enough combined power to devastate your planet." The collective processed this information, 20 minds running simultaneous calculations and simulations. In the neural interface chamber, their physical bodies remained still while their shared consciousness worked at incredible speed. "We've been fighting like the archivists," Henderson realized suddenly. "Defensively, reactively, trying to stop their collection process." "What's the alternative?" Chen questioned. Captain Tanner's consciousness flared stronger as an idea took shape. "We stop trying to defend against what they're doing and use it against them instead." Through their shared mind, the idea crystallized into a plan, radical, dangerous, and utterly human in its audacity. They would not merely resist the Harvester's energy collection. They would overwhelm it. "The Singularity engine doesn't just draw energy," Tanner's thoughts explained. "It can channel it, direct it." "You're suggesting we overload them," Dr. Nakamura understood immediately. "Force feed them more energy than they can process." "Exactly," Tanner confirmed. "The archivists never tried this because it was too risky, too unpredictable. But we're humans. Taking risks is what we do best. The collective unanimously agreed, individual fears subsumed by shared resolve. As one consciousness, they directed the Indomitable toward the heart of the Harvester formation, a suicide run not to destroy, but to overwhelm. The Indomitable plunged toward the heart of the Harvester formation, its hull blazing with energy that curled and twisted in patterns no engineer had designed, patterns born from the collective imagination of 20 human minds unified in purpose. The Harvesters responded predictably, their collection arrays widening to absorb this apparent bounty of energy. "They think we're sacrificing ourselves," Rodriguez observed through the collective consciousness. "Let them," Tanner's thoughts replied. "Prepare the Singularity engine for maximum output." At the core of the ship, the Singularity engine pulsed with blinding intensity as the collective consciousness channeled power through it in ways the archivists had never attempted. Instead of drawing energy conservatively from subspace as the archivists had done, they tore open the dimensional barriers, creating a cascade effect that multiplied the output exponentially. Quantum fluctuations increasing, Dr. Nakamura reported, her scientific mind monitoring the physics that they were now actively breaking. "We're creating a rupture between dimensional planes. Harvesters are responding," Henderson observed. Through their shared perception, they could see the crystalline structures beginning to vibrate at unexpected frequencies as they struggled to process the overwhelming energy pouring into their collection systems. The first harvester shattered, its perfect geometric form unable to contain the power it had greedily absorbed. Then another, and another, the chain reaction spreading through their formation as each explosion fed more chaotic energy into the next collector. But victory came with consequences. Space itself began to warp around the Indomitable as the dimensional rupture expanded beyond their control. "Subspace breach is destabilizing," Fujita warned, her engineering expertise recognizing the danger immediately. "The tear between dimensions is growing too rapidly." Through their shared consciousness, they could feel reality fraying around them, not just their reality, but multiple overlapping planes of existence bleeding into one another. Strange energies and impossible colors swirled through the rupture, beautiful and terrifying. If this continues, Admiral Vega's consciousness calculated, the dimensional tear will expand to engulf Earth within minutes. The collective mind raced for solutions, 20 perspectives generating and discarding possibilities at incredible speed. It was Captain Tanner who found the answer, not in the archivist's knowledge, but in the ship itself. The Indomitable wasn't just transformed for battle, he realized. Its new configuration can channel energy in both directions. We can use the ship to contain and redirect the rupture. The collective understood instantly, their unified mind reshaping the ship's systems for this new purpose. The Indomitable's hull reconfigured once more, becoming a focal point that drew the chaotic dimensional energies away from Earth. As they worked, something unexpected happened. Through the dimensional tear, they began receiving signals, not random energy but coherent transmissions. "These are communications," Henderson recognized first, her synesthetic perception translating the alien patterns into understandable forms. From other realities, other civilizations. The signals resolved into multiple distinct transmissions, all from species that had faced the harvesters in their own realities. Some had failed as the archivists had, but others had succeeded through methods unique to their biology and thinking. They're sharing knowledge, Dr. Nakamura realized. Defense strategies, technologies, philosophical approaches, a multiversal library of resistance. As the last harvesters in their reality shattered under the energy overload, the collective faced a decision. The dimensional rupture could be sealed completely, cutting off these newfound connections, or stabilized into a controlled interface between realities. The archivists weren't just building weapons. Admiral Vega's consciousness understood at last. They were trying to create a bridge, to find allies across realities. Through their shared mind, the 20 connected humans voted unanimously. The Indomitable systems reconfigured one final time, transforming from a weapon of war into something entirely new. a dimensional anchor that maintained stable, controlled connections to other realities where other species had fought the same enemy. As the rupture stabilized, Captain Tanner's consciousness addressed their new multiversal allies. We are humans of Earth. We faced the harvesters and survived. As you did. We offer our knowledge, our perspective, our unique approach to problems. In exchange, we ask for yours. The response came as a chorus of alien thoughts, each distinct yet unified in purpose. Welcome, humans. We have been waiting for you.